Those against? That.
The shadow treasurer Joseph Lelang began his response by stating that the government was too focused on issues of the past.
Has gone through the budget documents, and we find that there are risks and uncertainties that may derail implementation of the 2020 budget and adversely affect what the government has set out to achieve in the new year.
Lelang went on to state that the opposition found the biggest flaw on how Marape government was borrowing more than the country could generate.
We see is to stabilize the economy, and this requires consolidation of fiscal policy. Fiscal consolidation means we limit our debt, we improve revenue collections, reduce the budget deficit with real cuts to reducing expenditure, and restructuring high-risk short-term debts over the medium term starting in 2020. That was what we expected to hear from the Treasurer last Thursday, Mr. Acting Speaker. But the government of Prime Minister Marape has failed to undertake fiscal consolidation because the 2020 budget has increased expenditure from 16.5 billion kina to 18.7 billion kina.
Shadow Treasurer went on to point out risks that the opposition had identified, firstly with the SME tax, accusing the Treasurer of introducing a 2% tax. On the funding of missing links in PNG that got cuts of 600 million kina plus, the opposition stated that the money would be tied up in administrative costs and that most roads will have not taken shape in 2020.
The infrastructure sector receives a total PNG government funding of 694.95 million kina. However, we know that most of these will be tied up as counterpart funding for grants and concessional loans. Most of the programs are ongoing, with the exception of a few new initiatives in the 2020 budget, particularly for districts, provincial and rural roads. Mr. Acting Speaker, the opposition see that there is no significant infrastructure projects that will profoundly impact on the economy. The PNG Connect and Special Zones are still at their early and initial stages of development in 2020, with no significant impact expected next year. Mr. Speaker,
Shadow Treasurer went on to say that with delay in project negotiations, it would affect PNG's revenue prospect in 2020. The opposition also accused Marape's Stephen government of no actions towards spoken, as the increase of alcohol and tobacco may affect the agriculture sector.
We are informed that industries have started using local fruits and products like local cassava starch as an input into beer production. So far, there are 500 smallholder farmers, and with plans to increase these to 2,000 farmers associated with this initiative by supplying cassava. Rather than discouraging the use of our local resources and input into beer making, we should focus on getting non-compliant businesses and importers and manufacturers in the country to pay the right amount of excise, and adjust by way of legislation, force alcohol businesses to produce the right amount of alcohol content while supporting agriculture sector if we are so concerned about antisocial drinking and behavior.
Amongst other risks identified included outstanding land rentals, export duties on logs, and expenditure breakup of the 2020 budget. Adelaide Xerox Kari, National, MTV News.